Chapter 14. Jodhpur, India. Astrid stood on the balcony breathing in the luxuriant scent that wafted up from the rose gardens below. From her vantage point at the Imad Bawan Palace Hotel, she had a sweeping view of the city. To the east, an impossibly romantic-looking fort perched on a mountain top, while in the distance the tight clusters of vibrant blue buildings that made up the medieval city of Jodhpur gleaming in the early morning light. The blue city, Astrid thought to herself. She had heard somewhere that all the houses here were painted this shade of cobalt because it was believed to ward off evil spirits. The colour reminded her of Yves Saint Laurent and Pierre Berg's estate in Marrakesh, the Majoral Gardens, much of which was also painted a distinctive shade of blue. The only house in the entire city of roses, ochre, allowed by decree of the king to be painted a different colour. Astrid stretched out on the chaise lounge and poured herself another cup of chai from the silver Art Deco teapot. This monumental palace had been commissioned by the present Maharaja grandfather in 1929 to give work to all the people during a great famine, so every detail retained its original Art Deco style, from the pink sandstone pillars in the rotunda to the blue mosaic tiles in the underground swimming pool built so that the Maharani could swim in complete privacy. The palace reminded her a bit of Tysell Park, and for a moment Astrid felt an intense pang of guilt. Her grandmother lay in bed, attended by a team of doctors, while she was here enjoying a secret weekend rendezvous at a palace. Her guilt faded slightly as she caught sight of Charlie padding out onto the balcony, clad only in the drawstring pajama trousers. When did he become so built? Back in the university days in London, Charlie had been positively scrawny, but now his lanky torso took on the distinctive V shape, and his abs looked more ripped than she had ever remembered. He stood behind her as she lay on the chaise lounge, bending over and kissing the tender spot on her neck. "Morning, gorgeous. Good morning. Did you sleep well?" "Now, I don't recall getting any sleep last night, but I'm sure glad you did," Charlie teased as he poured a cup of coffee from the samovar set up on the chrome and glass trolley. He took his first sip and murmured with satisfaction, how great is this coffee?" Astrid smiled placidly. "Actually, I'm sure the coffee is great, but I brought these beans. I know how much you love for your first cup, so I had them ground for you this morning. It's Ethiopian Yorkshire from Verve Coffee in LA. Charlie gazed at her in appreciation. "That's it. I'm kidnapping you, not letting you get back to Singapore. I'm never going to let you leave my side for, well, the rest of eternity. Kidnap me all you want, but you'll have to contend with my family. I'm sure my dad will send out a SWAT team if I don't turn up for breakfast at Nursing Road on Monday morning. Don't worry, I'll get you back in time, and you can even show up with a big tray of these parathas for breakfast," Charlie said, taking a bite out of the buttery, still warm Indian layered bread. Astrid giggled. No, it has to be something Malays, otherwise they'll suspect if it feels like I'm playing hooky. But I'm so glad you convinced me to do this. I really needed it. You've been spending so much time at your grandmother's bedside dealing with the family circus. I thought you could use a break. Charlie perched on the balcony edge, looking down at an ornately turbaned man sitting on a pile of pillows in the middle of the grand terrace, playing a soft melody on his bansuri, while a flock of peacocks wandered behind him on the great lawn. "Astrid, you need to come check this out. There's a flute player on the terrace surrounded by peacocks. I saw him. He's been out there all the morning. It's absolute heaven here, isn't it?" Astrid closed her eyes for a moment, listening to the enchanting melody as she savored the warmth of sun on her face. "Well, just wait. We haven't even toured the city yet," Charlie said with a sly gleam in his eye. Astrid smiled to himself, enjoying his impish little boy expression. What was Charlie up to? He looked up, just like Cassian did whenever he was trying to hide a secret. After they had enjoyed a classic Indian breakfast of a curry spice scrambled eggs on lacha paratha, chicken samosas, and fresh mango pudding on their private balcony, Charlie and Astrid walked to the front terrace to the palace. As they waited for the Maharaja Rolls Royce Phantom 2 to pull up to the front steps, the guards started showering compliments to Astrid. "Ma'am, we've never seen anyone look so beautiful in Jodhpurs," they praised. Astrid smiled bashfully. She was wearing a white linen tunic tucked into the new pair of white Jodhpurs that had been just tailored for her, but instead of a belt she had worn a long hand-held Scott different turquoise necklace through the belt loops. They were driving in the vintage convertible to the Marangarth Fort, an imposing red sandstone fortress perched on a dramatic cliff 400 feet above the skyline of Jodhpur. At the foot of the hill, they transferred into a small jeep that sped them up The steep road to the main entrance, a beautiful arched gateway flanked by ancient frescoes known as Jaipal, the Gate of Victory. Soon they were strolling hand in hand through the interconnected networks of palaces and museums that made up for the fort complex, marveling at the intricately carved walls and expansive courtyards that afford us commanding views of the city. "This is incredible," Asher said in a hushed voice as they entered an elaborate chamber where the walls and ceilings were made entirely of mirrored glass and mosaic tiles. "Well, they don't call this the most beautiful fort in Rasathan for nothing," Charlie said, as they strolled through a reception hall where every surface, from the walls to the ceilings to the floors, were pointing in dizzyingly colourful floral pattern. Asher couldn't help but comment, "It's so empty. Where are all the tourists? The fort's actually closed today, but Shivraj had the place open just for us." "How sweet of him." "So this fort belongs to his family. Since the 15th century, it's one of the only forts in India that's still controlled by the original ruling family that built it. Am I going to get the chance to thank Shivraj in person?" "I forgot to tell you, you'll be invited to the private residence at Umayyad Bhawan for dinner tonight with this family." "Great. I wonder if they are related to the Singhs, you know." Gayatri Singh, our family friend who throws these fabulous parties where she displays all her jewels. Her father was a Maharaja of one of the Indian states, though I can't recall which one at the moment. I think many of the royal families of India intermarried," Charlie replied a little distractedly. "Are you okay?" Astrid asked, noticing his change of mood. Yeah, I'm fine. There's this amazing room that I'm trying to find for you. I know you love it. I think it's up these stairs." Charlie led her up a steep staircase that went around in a teardrop shape, and at the top of the stairwell they arrived at a long narrow room flanked by arched windows along every wall. In the middle of the room was a collection of golden bay cradles, each more ornate than the other. "Is this the nursery?" Astrid asked. "No, this is actually part of the zenana, where the ladies of the palace were cloistered. This building is called the Peeping Palace because the ladies would come here and peep down on the activities of the courtyard below." "Oh, that's right. The royal wives and concubines could never be seen by the public, could they?" Ashut leaned out a window framed by a distinctive Bengali-style eave, peeking through the little star-patterned holes in the screen windows. Then she opened the shutters completely, taking in the view below of the grand marbled courtyard surrounded on three sides by palace balconies. "Hey, do you want to get your hands painted with henna?" Charlie asked. "Oh, I'd love to. The concierge at the hotel told me that there's a henna artist here who does the most incredible work. I think she's in the museum gift shop. Let me go get her. I'll come with you." No, stay here. Enjoy the incredible views. I'll get her and be right back." "Oh, okay," Asher said, a little puzzled as Charlie rushed off. She sat on a bench in the room, contemplating what it would be been like to be married to a Maharaja back in the time when they were absolute rulers. They were absolute rulers of the kingdom. It would have been a life of unfathomable luxury, but she wasn't sure she wanted to be part of a harem with dozens of queens and concubines. How could she ever share the man she loved with someone else? And were the women ever allowed to wander beyond the palace walls or even to step into the elegant courtyard below? Asher heard some laughter in the distance, and she spied several women emerging through an arched doorway in the courtyard. How pretty they looked in their red and white lehenga colis. They were followed by another row of women in the same tight cropped blouses and flowing embroidered skirts, and soon there was about a dozen of them in the courtyard. The women walked single file in a circle as the sound of drumming began to emanate from deep within the fort. Suddenly the women formed a straight line right below where Asher was standing. They flung their hands in the air, jerked their heads up at her, and began stomping their feet in rhythm to the drumming. From the archways on the lower floor beneath, where Asher was standing, a dozen men in white came running out between the women to the far side of the courtyard. A Hindi pop song began blasting through the air, and the men and women dancing opposite each other in a seductive face-off. They were soon joined by another dozen female dancers in vibrant blue and purple saris, streaming in front of the north and south gates of the courtyard. As the music got louder and louder, suddenly the song stopped abruptly, and the window shutters on the opposite side of the courtyard flung open, revealing a man in the gold-embroidered sherwani. He extended his arms towards Asher, singing a cappella in Hindi. Then the music resumed as the dancers continued to stomp and swirl. Asher burst out laughing, delighted as the Bollywood spectacle unfolding before her. Charlie must be behind all this. No wonder he's been acting weird ever since we got here, she thought. the man disappeared from the turret. Only to appear moments later in the courtyard, leading a band of musicians. The entire troupe danced at the beat of the music, moving in perfect formation. She looked down at the handsome lead singer, outfitted in gold, realizing with a shock that it was none other than Shah Rukh Khan, one of India's biggest stars. Before she could even react properly, the sound of trumpets filled the air, followed by a strange roaring sound. Turning into the main archway into the courtyard, Astra's eyes opened in surprise. Coming from the gate was an elephant festooned with gemstones and vibrant pink and yellow patterns painted on its head, being led by two Mahots dressed in full regalia of the royal court of Jodhpur. On the elephant's back was an ornate silver halder and perched majestically on one of its seats, dressed in a midnight blue paisley sherwani with matched trousers and turbans, was Charlie. As his jaw dropped as she ran out of the room into the open veranda. Charlie, what's all this? The elephant strode over to her veranda, and she was almost at eye level with Charlie as he sat on top of the elephant. The Mahats guided the elephant so that it stood alongside the balcony. Charlie leapt off the howdah onto the terrace where Astra stood. I wanted this to be a surprise. I haven't wanted to tell you until now, but Isabel signed our divorce papers last week. Astra let a little gasp. Yes, I'm a free man, completely free, and I realised that in all the craziness of the past few years, we've just talked about getting married as though it was just a done deal, but I never probably proposed to you. Charlie suddenly got down on one knee and stared at her. Astra, you are and have always been the love of my life, my angel, my saviour. I don't know what I'd do without you, my dearest sweet love. Will you marry me? Before she could answer, the elephant let out a rather roar, and then curled his trunk upwards to grab something from Charlie's hand. The animal then extended its trunk towards Astrid, waving a red leather box in front of her face. Astrid took the box gingerly, opened it. Sparkling inside was a 5-carat canary diamond solitaire encircled in a delicate floral scrollwork of bright gold. It was an unusual setting, unlike anything that a contemporary jeweler might design. Wait a minute, this looks like my grandmother's engagement ring. It is your grandmother's engagement ring. But how? Astrid asked, utterly confused. I flew down to Singapore last month and had a secret date with your grandmother. I know how important she is to you, so I wanted to be sure we had her blessing. Astrid shook her head in disbelief as she stared at the precious heirloom ring covering her mouth with her right hand as tears began streaming off her. So how about it? Are you going to marry me? Charlie looked at her plaintively. Yes, yes, oh my God, yes, Astrid cried. Charlie got up and embraced her tightly as the crowd of dancers and musicians cheered. The two of them walked downstairs onto the courtyard, and Shah Rukh Khan bounded towards them to be the first to offer his congratulations. Were you surprised? He asked. My goodness, I'm still in shock. I didn't think I could still be surprised at this point in my life, but Charlie really pulled it off. In the euphoria of the moment, no one noticed a series of bright flashes coming from the highest turret on the southern end of the fort. It came from the sunlight's glinting of the telephoto lens of a Canon EOS 7D, the camera favourite of paparazzi and private detectives, and it was pointed straight at Astrid and Charlie. Thanks for listening.